Senator Williams.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just get my eyes on. Mr. President, I have a cracking question for the Minister for Indigenous Affairs, Senator Scullion. Can the Minister update the Senate on the government's community development program and how it is supporting Indigenous Australians from welfare to work?
The Minister for Indigenous Affairs, Senator Scullion.
I thank you very much, Mr. President. I'd like to acknowledge the great work that Senator Williams does in engaging and assisting me in engaging Indigenous Australians in his and around his electorates. People think about jobs and about creation of jobs. It shouldn't only be just a number, Mr. President. This is about being able to engage so much in their own lives. Economic independence, moving from poverty in many of these circumstances. It is just so important. So the Community Development and Employment Program and the program that took over from that, the Remote Jobs and Community Program, tragically we ended up as an end place. So people used to go into that to go and get a job, but they'd end up in this program. So I know people who were in that program for 16 years as a training program, and that was the elements, I suppose, that we had so much difficulty in shifting. The other, of course, was ensuring that people were actually being at that program. So we've taken the attendance from 5% when we took it over. It's now at 62%. But to move them, we need to move them into jobs. We had a 10,000 target 12 months ago. We just pushed straight through that target. We're now at 11,200, of which 3,600 have now been there for more than 6 months, Mr. President. This is a fantastic story, but it's all about the activities that people are involved in. We're not telling the communities, we're working with the communities. They're picking their own task. Manyallaluk, they said, we'd like to build a church. We said, oh yeah, it's a big sort of task, but off they went about it and they built their own church at Manyallaluk. And then you can see the steel workers and the carpenters that came from that are feeling really, really proud, and they're now moving into real jobs. They're moving away from a training program. And I'd like to acknowledge and thank the work of many others across Parliament in assisting us in this very successful program.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Williams, a supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can the Minister explain how the Coalition Government's approach of working with Indigenous Australians is delivering better outcomes through the Community Development Program? Minister.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I've indicated, we have been delivering real results because this is based. One of the fundamentals that it's changed, this is based on a proper partnership. So a community actually creates not only the activities, but works out exactly who's doing what in the program. So the community is right at the centre of this program. And it's all about doing things, and I heard the Prime Minister again say something in the other place, and I know it's across politics that we know that part of the solution to these challenges is doing things with Indigenous Australians rather than to them. So identifying the activities and certainly is very, very important, and I know that Senator Williams will know the nurseries that are working so well, and commercial nurseries in Cobar, the furniture making places in Gaduga, and are just examples of how we're not only moving people into work, but we're moving people into enterprises. It's just so easy to move from an enterprise into a real job.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Williams, final supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thank the Minister for his answer and his commitment to our first Australians, and I ask, can the Minister outline any other measures the government is progressing to support Indigenous Australians into work? Minister.
Well, when I was actually sworn in, so that's the day I take it from, the 18th of September in 2013, we've created or moved people and created 45,000 jobs. That's 60 a day, 60 jobs every day. So that's some of the bigger chunks have been done through the vocational training and employment scheme. As I've indicated here before, that was the Gen 1 model. And it's really successful because we're not just training you, we actually start with the job. So we've reversed engineered it so people are moving into real work. Now, the Indigenous procurement policy, which most people now know about, very, very successful. We've increased by 46 times what other iterations have achieved. And we know that an Indigenous business is 100 times more likely to employ an Indigenous person. So this is again another one of our principal planks in ensuring that we are engaging our first Australians in employment.
Thank you, Minister.